What if the one thing most people were taught to avoid their entire lives is the exact same tool the wealthiest people on the planet use to get wealthier? Debt is not the enemy. The wrong kind of debt is. And the difference is almost never taught. Not in school, not at home, not in any financial literacy course designed for the average person. The wealthy use debt as a lever. Everyone else uses it as a lifeline. That single distinction is responsible for more wealth inequality than any tax policy, any market condition, or any economic cycle in modern history. This video breaks down exactly what separates the debt that destroys financial futures from the debt that builds them, and the framework for moving from one side to the other. The average American carries $6,501 in credit card debt. The average interest rate on that debt is above 20% APR. That number is not a coincidence. It is the result of a system designed with extraordinary precision to keep balances alive as long as possible. The actual cost of that balance, a $5,000 balance on a credit card charging 22% APR, paid using only the minimum monthly payment, takes over 17 years to clear. By the time that balance reaches zero, over $8,000 in interest has been paid on top of the original $5,000. The lender collects $13,000 from a $5,000 loan. The borrower ends the transaction significantly poorer than when they started. This is consumer debt, and it is the single most effective wealth destruction mechanism available to the average person. Consumer debt includes credit card balances, buy now, pay later agreements, personal loans used for vacations or electronics, car loans on vehicles that lose 20% of their value the moment they leave the dealership, and payday loans that carry annualized interest rates between 300% and 400%. Every one of these instruments shares one defining characteristic. The borrowed money buys something that does not generate income and does not appreciate in value. The money is gone the moment it is spent. What remains is the debt, compounding every month against the borrower. The structure of minimum payments was not designed to help borrowers. It was designed to maximize the duration of the debt. Credit card minimum payments are typically set at 1% to 2% of the outstanding balance, low enough to feel manageable, but insufficient to make meaningful progress against compound interest. The balance barely moves. The interest keeps accumulating. The lender keeps collecting. Banks and credit card companies in the United States earned over $130 billion in interest and fee income in 2023 alone. That income does not come from people who pay their balances in full every month. It comes entirely from people trapped in minimum payment cycles, people who were never taught how the math actually works. This is the debt that keeps people financially stuck. Not because debt is inherently bad, but because this version of it is structurally designed to compound against the borrower indefinitely. Now the other side. The wealthiest individuals and institutions in the world carry enormous amounts of debt. Not because they cannot afford to pay cash, but because debt, when used correctly, accelerates wealth accumulation faster than any other tool available. The principle is called leverage. Leverage means borrowing capital to acquire an asset whose return exceeds the cost of borrowing. When that condition is met, when the asset generates more than the debt costs, the borrower profits from money that was never theirs to begin with. Real estate is the most widely accessible example. A property purchased for $300,000 with a $60,000 down payment and a $240,000 mortgage at 7% annual interest generates two simultaneous returns. First, rental income that covers the mortgage payment and produces cash flow. Second, property appreciation. The national average for U.S. residential real estate appreciation over the last 30 years is approximately 4.4% per year, with many markets substantially higher. The investor controls a $300,000 asset with $60,000 of their own capital. When the property appreciates by 5%, the gain is $15,000 on a $60,000 investment. That is a 25% return on the actual capital deployed, not 5%. The mortgage, the debt, is what makes that math possible. Without it, the same $60,000 buys a $60,000 asset with a 5% gain of $3,000. That is a 5% return. Leverage turned 5% appreciation into a 25% return on invested capital. Business financing operates on the same principle. A business owner who borrows $100,000 at 8% annual interest to fund operations generating $40,000 in annual profit is paying $8,000 per year to earn $40,000. The net return on the borrowed capital is $32,000 per year. Without the loan, there is no business, no profit, and no return. The debt created the income. There are three categories of debt that build wealth when used correctly. The first is mortgage financing on income-producing property. The defining feature is that the property generates income, rental payments, that services the debt. The borrower is not paying the mortgage, the tenant is. Meanwhile, the asset appreciates and the mortgage balance decreases, building equity simultaneously from two directions. The second is business financing, with a documented return exceeding the cost of borrowing. Any loan used to fund a business activity, inventory, equipment, marketing, hiring, that generates a return higher than the interest rate is productive debt. A $50,000 equipment loan at 9% that enables $200,000 in additional annual revenue is not a liability. It is a profit engine. The third is investment in skills or qualifications with a measurable and documented income outcome. This category requires the most scrutiny. Not all education debt meets this standard. The test is specific. Does the credential or skill acquired directly and demonstrably increase earning capacity by more than the cost of acquiring it within a reasonable time frame? When the answer is yes, the debt is an investment. When the answer is unclear or speculative, it is not. The framework for moving from destructive debt to strategic debt follows a specific sequence. Step 1 is non-negotiable. Eliminate all consumer debt before attempting any leverage strategy. There is no investment available to the average person that reliably returns 22% annually, the rate most credit cards charge. Every dollar directed toward a leverage strategy while carrying credit card debt is a dollar losing 22% per year before any return is calculated. Consumer debt elimination is not a conservative financial choice. It is the only mathematically rational starting point. Step 2 is building a 3 to 6 month emergency fund in liquid savings before deploying any leverage. The reason is structural. Leverage amplifies returns in both directions. An investor using leverage who is forced to sell an asset during a market downturn because a job loss or unexpected expense leaves no buffer, sells at the worst possible moment, turning a temporary paper loss into a permanent real one. The emergency fund is not cautious behavior. It is the risk management that makes leverage survivable. Step 3 is identifying an asset with a documented realistic return rate that exceeds current borrowing costs. In a 7% mortgage rate environment, this means finding assets with realistic total returns above 7%, rental yield plus appreciation, or business revenue minus operating costs. Assets that cannot clear this bar do not qualify for leverage. The math must work before any capital is committed. Step 4 is borrowing the minimum capital needed to control the maximum viable asset. Over-leveraging, borrowing more than the asset's income can service, is the mechanism behind most high-profile financial collapses, both personal and institutional. The principle is to use enough debt to access the asset, not so much that a single missed payment or market fluctuation creates a crisis. The pattern that separates people who build wealth from people who struggle is not income level. The variable is not how much money comes in. It is what the debt is attached to when it goes out. Consumer debt attaches money to things that depreciate and generate no income. Strategic debt attaches money to assets that appreciate and generate income. The first compounds against the borrower. The second compounds for the borrower. Every wealthy person who uses debt understands one rule that most financial education never teaches. Debt is neutral. It has no inherent quality of good or bad. It takes on the character of whatever it is used to acquire. Used to buy a television, it destroys wealth. Used to buy the building the television store operates from, it builds it. Drop a comment with the type of debt currently being carried. The next video covers the exact sequence for paying off debt and beginning to build with it at the same time, without waiting until everything is cleared to start.